Welcome back to WCS Winter Americas. We are going to be moving into our second match for the day. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Nathanius. What's up?
Well, you know, In-Control found out there was a ZvZ, and then he said something like, "Nathan, there's a battlecruiser by the desk," and I was like, "Oh," and then the next thing I know, the shackle closed around my ankle, and here I am. Love me some ZvZ, you know.
My favorite part was like you arrive and we were like, "Oh, shoot." we're not ready for this.
I'm gonna get my revenge on you, Jeff.
All right, next
no
time.
battle cruisers over here.
Well, you never know. Actually, no, there can't be battle cruisers here because our next
power
match,
of technology, there could be one behind us.
That's very true. Maybe that's actually the thing that's obscuring our photo of Erik back there.
Yeah, that could be it.
But we do have a Zerg versus Zerg coming on up. Erik and TooDming. These are the two players from the Americas region that are not normally playing in the Americas region.
Right.
This is going to be the South American Brazilian Zerg player Erik facing off versus the Chinese player TooDming. I know you and Jeff were talking a little bit about TooDming and Erik and that kind of stuff. What's kind of interesting is that I think that these guys are going to have next to no experience against each other, just almost guaranteed. TooDming plays mostly on the Chinese server, maybe plays a little bit with Koreans or something. I'm not 100% sure about that on the ladder, but the last tournament series that TooDming played that wasn't with a bunch of Chinese players was WCS Montreal. And before that, it was like one online copy play, like a random Korean. And then that's it. He played 3 series versus non-Chinese players in 2018.
Nice.
So I think this is going to be a kind of fun match where neither one of the players know each other's playstyles.
That should be interesting. I mean, Erik, this is like his first big shot, I feel like, on a stage like this, which should be cool. And TooDming, honestly, the biggest thing that jumped out to me was, I don't know how we got a picture of him looking so normal. TooDming shows up to every event rocking some baller jacket and an insane hairdo. And he looked very mortal in that picture. That's my analysis. That's all I've got. I haven't seen him play in forever. I'm excited to see what he brings.
It has been a while.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't remember the last time I've even played Erik because I don't think we get matched anymore on NA. He probably played a lot of matches on the Brazilian server, right?
Yeah, I would think so. You know, I've heard that you've been getting lucky not getting Brazilian server.
As a West
Australia.
Coast player, I usually get put against people on Australia if I'm getting someone from far away. But I don't think I ever play anyone on Brazil server. So I haven't played him. I haven't seen him play in a long time.
There you go.
Very interested to see what he brings to this group.
So I know he has been playing a lot on like the America server, which includes Brazil, because I know he's been doing well in like my tournament, Ladder Heroes and stuff. So I see him, he qualifies and stuff. I haven't actually gotten to see many of his matches though, because he does well on the ladder. He kind of gets some good results. He maybe wins like a match here or there, but it hasn't really been able to make the deep runs, hasn't been able to beat a lot of the big names. Maybe what he also needs is just someone that also doesn't know too much about him.
Yeah. That's what I think makes this interesting. I see both of these players as the underdogs of the group, personally. But then again, I could be very wrong, you know. We'll see how well M. Canning plays throughout the rest of it. In the northwest position, though, as we're loaded in to Cyber Forest, we have the blue Zerg player from Brazil. He is Erik.
Team try again. And starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player. He is TooDming. Age 30.
In StarCraft years, that I think that puts you in, what is it?
That's commentator territory, man.
Commentator territory.
That's what we call them when they retire. Ooh, okay, Erik, so you were kind of hinting at this a little bit, I think. Erik is one of the players that does like to get a bit more aggressive. I feel like the Latin American scene in general likes to be a little bit more aggressive, and he is going to open up not with some sort of 12 pool or anything like that, but it is going to be a pool before hatchery and kind of delaying that gas geyser as well. So we'll see what he decides to do with those early lings.
Yeah, I haven't played against him since Heart of the Swarm before they did like the big thing with the server split back when everybody was all pool all the time. But he is very good. He's much higher than me on the ladder these days, I'll say that much. He's like he floats top 50, right? Or is he top 16?
No, he's top like 30 or so. So what's really cool about Erik, because I was telling Jeff about this, is that I think that there is the Latin American scene which always looks a little bit unfair, because you see Special and you would see Kelazur at the absolute top, and then Cham would sometimes mix his way in there, either overtaking kills or special sometimes as an upset. And then there was just this big gap, and you would never really see anyone else making it out of the Latin American scene. But Erik, I think, is the closest person to being that fourth person in that whole lineup. I actually think he's a very good player.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he can do over here. This group, to me, is very interesting. It's pretty wide open. I like M. Canning a lot. I'm personally pretty biased towards him, but I feel like whoever wins this has a pretty solid shot. Special should get out in first place, but yeah, I wonder which of the other three players is going to really rise to the occasion. To me, that's the story of Group A for America here, just because like sometimes we have a group where there's two players that clearly stand out. Like, you know, if you have Scarlet and Neeb in the same group, you'd usually assume, okay, whoever else is in there is probably not going to make it out with them. But so far, just some Lings kind of moving back and forth on the map. Neither player for speed, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, TooDming invested his gas into the super fast layer tech, whereas Erik just opened up with a pool first, then hatch, and then a later gas geyser. So he just didn't have the gas to do anything with. So now Erik starts up his own layer super duper fast, which neither one of these players have really scouted each other's layer timing.
Is this like, are they both going to go like mutas without... And I haven't cast or watched a ZvZ in a long time, Fear Dragon. This is fun. So I have no idea what's happening. This is my favorite part.
I actually part of me wants to agree that this might be mutas from Erik as well. But he's throwing down the Roach Horn.
Okay,
the only thing is he's got 4 gas geysers up. So, okay, yeah, with +1 weapons,
I feel like the Roach Horn's a little late. I feel like TooDming could have timed that Roach Horn with the layer and like gotten a crazy fast Roach speed, because the delay on it actually means that Erik's Roach Horn will line up with his layer. So they can both go for Roach speed, but TooDming's going to miss any advantage that he would have had from his earlier layer in terms of the timing on that upgrade, which is a pretty big deal. It's really, really easy for you to jump on top of your opponent with speed roaches when the other player doesn't have it. That's why you get it really quickly, because if you get 1 or 2 more roaches than your enemy, then the game is just over.
All right, more drones coming out for both sides. So even though both of their Roach Horns are finished, even though both of their Roach speeds and +1 weapons are on the way, they're not thinking about Roach production just yet. Erik also has that extra gas guy in the main. He never put workers into that. Is that a bit of... Normally when you go for this kind of play, you'd only need 3 gas geysers, I think. So maybe taking the 4th gas geyser was the mistake in the first place, and that's why he's not saturating that. Maybe he's just supposed to saturate and he's missing that. Either way, bit of a mistake there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that these players are kind of shaping themselves up. Very roach heavy so far. Interested in who's going to be aggressive first. I feel like it's kind of the side effect of both players not really being familiar with one another, that it's like this tepid dance back and forth, like very playful, like a first date, you know, Fear Dragon. Nobody wants to be too forward.
You gotta leave a good first impression.
Exactly.
Make sure that they fear you on your first.
You want to make sure that you get a second game in the best of 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Spire on the way for Erik, so he's gonna have that door open. I wonder if he makes the Mutalist transition. I don't really know how this map affects ZvZ too much. Like, the big thing about this map is that ramp goes down and the third base is down, but then there's 2 ramps that go up from where that third base location is. Of course, you could take the high ground third location that's just a little bit north or south of the natural, but then you're also a little bit further out, not as close to the main base as far as like repositioning queens if you were dealing with Mutalisks or Spore Crawlers. So I'm interested to see how this game progresses, because it's kind of weird, because neither of us have really seen these 2 players play a crazy amount of games lately either. So it's just a little bit of a mystery. Is he going to go into mutas? He's got the Spire.
He's got to, yeah. If you invest in the Spire, you're definitely going to do something with it, because otherwise that could have been an extra Carapace upgrade or something. And speaking of exactly that, TooDming has Carapace and +2 missile attack on the way, and he's moving out. Now the thing is...
this is the window, right? This is the window we normally talk about, where the Mutalist player is just going to try to get the mutas out, but can you get enough before the Roach attack hits?
It is, but here's the thing. Even though there are a couple of Ravagers here to join forces with TooDming, the Roach counts are not that different. It's 18 to 16. In fact, TooDming has fewer Roaches with a few more Ravagers, sure, but the Mutas are more than going to make up for that difference.
And the Mutas dunk on the Ravagers,
This is going to be a super cleanup here for Erik.
Wow. All right. Erik showing some prowess there. Nice little adjustment in his tech. And really impressive to have this similar number of roaches while also getting 7 Mutalisks on top of all of that. And at that point, you completely push TooDming into defense mode, where all he can do is sit back, try to get up to something like Hydralisks, maybe pump out more Queens. I don't think I see a lot of Spore Crawlers. I'm almost expecting or looking for the follow-up there. Now, Erik will get a Hydralisk down on his own because he doesn't want to go into mass Mutas off of this, which I like. You know, use the Mutas, poke, harass, try to force the Spores if you can. I still don't really see the Spores.
I mean, the problem is, even with a few of these Spores being made, it's the Roaches. The Roaches are in way higher numbers now for Erik. I think that some of them are still rallying across the map, but then you add in just a little bit of Muta DPS. Doesn't even have to be next to the Spore Crawler. Just do some extra little bits of DPS to the Roach count of TooDming. I think he's in a really nice spot. I love the kind of delay on that extra larva production. Again, that hatchery with the Overseer. Looks like it does get cleaned up, though.
One thing to mention in that fight, though, I think that helps TooDming a lot, is he did have the +1 Carapace that Erik does not have. So the better upgraded Roach is definitely going to trade better. And now with +2 attack finishing, TooDming's Roaches and Hydralisks are much better until Erik closes things out. So Erik's way of dealing with this is going to be to go straight into the Lurker Den.
Okay. So he goes to the Lurker Den while the Mutas are in enough numbers to maybe pick away at some drones and just sort of be annoying. Also keep an eye on his opponents. So you see how many Hydras there are. That's a pretty important scout. I love the Roach attack on the north side. He's going to be able to kill a base, not even cancel it. That's really nice.
It's a bit of a mistake there. Now these Roaches are going to come in, try to harass. 13 drones have died so far in the making of this film. Great harass by Erik, but TooDming making the big push across at the same time. Now, here's the interesting thing. He got the drones off the third base. So TooDming did not kill any drones with that push. And Erik, as long as he keeps pumping out units and he's able to defend this, has a huge economic lead over the Chinese Zerg player.
But he needs to be able to defend. He has a few more Ravagers morphing in. Lurker Den is about to finish, but it's not useful right now, as we end up seeing Corso Battles starting to come down, forcing those Hydras back, making them lose out on a little bit of DPS. Muta's sacrificing their lives just to try and get something done over here, because he knows, like you said, if he defends here, he's in a great economic spot. But I think that he's starting to bleed dry on a few too many units.
That's really difficult. That 20 worker lead is something he really wants to hold on to, but he needs to get the production out to deal with this. Those much better upgraded units from TooDming are a huge problem, and he did get the Lurker Den, but he doesn't have any Hydralisks on the field, and he doesn't have the time or the resources to crank out those Lurkers.
Oh man, even if he could even just afford 1 or 2 Hydras, I actually think it would make a pretty big difference.
I think it's just his larva block, because he's actually got something like 800 minerals, 700 gas. He just doesn't have the larva that he needs to crank out those units, because really a handful of Lurkers turn the tide, I feel. But it's about trying to just get those units out quickly enough, which at this point becomes those. Now, +2 attack finishing is really important. Getting these upgrades a little bit more even, since there is a better economy for Erik. And if he can get on top of this force, he can make it happen. He has way more workers than his opponent. But now that third base is starting to go down. This is really bad for Erik. He needed this so much.
He does have another base. His 4th base had finished up during all of this, so he can just transfer workers over, and he's still going to be on 3 base versus 3 base. It hurts. I think he can still bounce back from this, though.
He adds a few more Mutalisks into the army composition as well, recognizing the lower Hydralisk count and trying to use that to abuse him. Gets a nice bile, actually, onto TooDming's Ravagers, as the biles are going to come in on both sides. Now the Mutas go into the back to flank the Hydralisk. And once the Hydras are dead, you right-click on those Ravagers, and suddenly Erik's forces on the ground have a much better time dealing with this.
Oh, he needs to hold on. He needs to hold on a little bit longer. Oh, the Mutas are not actually right.
Need to get the Mutas and the Ravagers.
Yeah, he's starting to do that now. He's going to lose a few workers, but remember, he was up 20, so if he gets away with 10 or 15 workers still being ahead,
still ahead. Okay. Still ahead. 12 drones at the moment. The Roaches are closing in. And, oh, goodness. I think bringing those drones back down, bit of a mistake there. Much better to have them alive. And now TooDming has brought the economy a lot closer. But in order to do that, he did have to throw all of his units away into that base. More of the drones are going down, and if Erik falls below in worker count, that is going to be very painful. It's all even in terms of workers.
You know, it's evened up, but I still kind of like a lot of the things going in favor of Erik. He's caught up a little bit in the upgrades. He's got the mutas for a bit of that map control now just to harass. But most importantly, he still has that lurker den. That's something TooDming never started up. And now he has a bit of breathing space. Now I think Erik can maybe afford to get up 1 or 2 or 3 lurkers and start holding those kind of choke points, defending against those big attacks that TooDming might throw at him.
Yeah, good cleanup, getting the overlords, watching the bases. I would like to see, I guess the big thing here, right? TooDming doesn't have a lurker den, does he?
No, he doesn't. That's the big thing.
Yeah, so we could, I do think some lurkers would be really big here for Erik. At least in ZvZ seems to be always a good way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness. I don't know about that move, though.
Yeah, I saw the movie Suicide Squad. Didn't work out quite that well.
I didn't know that that's what it looked like. that sounds more painful than the reviews. Get some roaches into the natural, which is nice to get some of the drones. Actually picks off, it looks like at least 1 or 2 of the hydras. Somehow Erik just got roaches into every base, even though he doesn't have tunneling claws. I don't know.
I know, that's the most beautiful part is when you just run the roaches into every base. Only getting 4 workers, not entirely ideal. I guess he buys himself some space, but I actually don't even feel like he needed that much space. He already kind of gave himself that with the mutas, right?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of weird, right? Because the way that he had the spores and the hydralisks set up, the mutalisks didn't really accomplish anything when they went back across the map to try and harass. And now TooDming's built up a pretty big ground army again.
Yep, still has that Carapace upgrade lead. It allows his roaches to survive just a little bit longer. The Muto's just trying to do some light, very annoying harassment, but it is about TooDming moving up a ramp into roaches and ravagers. Still no hydras produced over here.
Yeah, I think
still
trying
no lurkers.
to push up that ramp and having high ground vision when the ravagers just bile the part of the ramp where you would get the vision on. Really, really difficult. Really difficult to get through that for TooDming. So we have him trying to secure that next base on the south side of the map.
Yep. Bottom center base, 4th base going up is pretty nice because TooDming was able to destroy the 4th base of Erik, or I should say the 3rd base of Erik a long time ago. You can see the remnants of it over here. Erik never really able to feel comfortable reestablishing it. I think now it kind of is the time. As soon as he realizes, hey, my opponent actually has not been able to push into me for a little bit. This is my chance, my opportunity to go for something like that. But instead, no. His answer is, let's get up a Nidus Swarm. Because you know what? I got a Spire, I got a Hydra Den, I got a Lurker Den. The only thing I don't have is an Infestation Pit and a Nidus Swarm. So you know what? We'll knock one of those out.
All right, 5 lurkers on the way. I'd really like to see some lurker Nidus play. That sounds pretty sweet. Look at the Mutas swinging around at the bottom. Can use those to get the vision for the Nidus. I like this a lot. I'd love to see him like attack the Overlord, push him away. I guess he might bait the Hydras up into there. But.
Okay, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Lurkers loading on up. Oh, if the lurkers...
This is a huge part of that patch, though, right? That just came out because those lurkers being able to unload so much faster, even without the burrow upgrade, can all get into position potentially.
If he burrows the lurkers at the ramp, 5 lurkers holding a ramp versus a bunch of Hydras, that is... I don't even know how you break that.
He just baited the whole army back over towards the 4th again with those 2 mutalisks.
Well, he's still got all the roaches and ravagers over here, so it's just a oh, actually, that's a decent number of roaches.
Well, he's thinking exactly what you're talking about, Fear Dragon. Those lurkers burrow at the ramp, which means the main base will be forfeit for TooDming as he tries to make a counterattack. And there's the biles raining down. Now, they're not really a whole lot defensively here in terms of those lurkers, so it's a big play. Erik needs to stop this giant onslaught from his enemy as he continues to make his way through the base of TooDming.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate if Erik brought back 1 or 2 of the lurkers. I mean, especially since he sees, hey, where's your overseer with this army? Actually, so 1 or 2 lurkers could do a lot of work here.
Yeah.
He's just going to go for the full-on base trade, but the problem is he just lost the rest of his army. If he can get up just a few lurkers, I actually think that he can hold this and make this base trade work.
Yeah, this is going to be really difficult. I mean, he has the Nidus, right? So theoretically, if he
pop back in.
Yeah, he could either go back, but if he really wants to commit to the base trade, he could also just funnel all of his stuff into
that's true.
And go for the roundabout.
Okay, Lurker is going to be committing to get behind the mineral line. There is an overseer here. The roaches for Erik, though, going to be buying some of that space. Takes care of a lot of the mining. I think that actually that's all the mining. TooDming just barely getting any resources mined at the bottom center.
I feel like we're gonna see.
Oh my God, the mass muta transition. This is is pretty sick.
Yeah, that's a great way to deal with this, because he finally collapses on the lurkers, but there's not really that many Hydralisks, and he get the
I think that's
in
it.
the midst of all
Yep,
that.
he killed the Hydralisk and was sitting at the natural.
Ouch.
And there's actually 0 Hydralisk.
And there's no lair. He killed the lair, killed the
There's-
Hydralisk, killed the spawning pool, so he can't actually make a lair.
Yeah, well, guess what, Nate? 16 mutas actually kill a Spore Crawler, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, stop the counterattack with the Mutalisks, really nice. And this right here is the last of what
I think that's it.
got.
Yeah, there is no way.
Dude,
There's
the
no
Nidus
way
lurkers, the Nidus lurkers.
I love
Erik,
it.
you are stealing my heart. Yeah.
He's going to go for 4 more Spore Crawlers. I'm like, okay. So you go for the Spore Crawlers, and then you can make Lings? I guess he still has his Rotorn alive.
He does. Oh my goodness, it's gonna take him so long to rebuild the lair, and then the other thing, I guess
He can actually just try and use the Glaive Worm bounces to kill the hatchery.
he's gonna focus on the Spore Crawlers.
Yep.
Spores are scary, but he's like, okay, well now I can kill the hatch, so that's really all I wanted.
There you go. This base is defended from the top. It's actually not, the mineral line is not that defended. Only 1 or 2 sports cover it. I think the roaches should be able to clean things up though, because even though there's not that much mining happening in the natural, for Erik it's still decent enough. He just needs to make barely enough units to actually push in.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, really, it's just like supplement some of the ground forces. The mutas will help with everything else. There you go. You've got roaches versus drones. Great matchup for the roaches.
Turns out, roaches do pretty well versus miners.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Maybe if they had the drill skin,
That's the problem.
then you
right
can
there.
slice.
If he was a
slice the
simulant,
roaches.
the simulant drones have razor blades for hands. Not effective at picking up everyday objects, but
You got specialized, man. Oh my God, that one roach.
the Zerg Industrial Revolution.
Oh, if Erik really wants to end the game, yeah, you just kill the roach warrior and suddenly your
denied
opponent
attack.
is still making a spawning pool that
Still
can't.
has to rebuild the pool because he killed the other pool that was rebuilt. So what? He still doesn't have a lair, so he literally cannot do anything anymore.
Yeah, these are actually all. He has 1 lurker still alive. He can just send that lurker over to the spores.
Yeah. I think this is the part where you hear the high-pitched voice that says, "Finish him."
This is going to be a fatality soon as Erik pushes on forward. But dang, what a
GG.
game. Erik with a cool Nidus Worm
Love the
play.
Nidus play.
That was awesome.
Love it. Spicing things up here, WCS Winter. Heating us up.
I mean, even just not just the Nidus Worm play. Like, I think that the cleanup on that, the Spire timing of getting out all the mutas and everything worked out perfectly for Erik. That could not have gone better, where he has the mutas right in time for the push and just right-clicks down all the roaches. Only thing that got a little bit dicey, I think, was eventually like the follow-up attack with all the hydras and everything started cleaning up some of the mutas, and then it kind of started losing some workers there. Things got evened up, but overall, still very, very solid.
Yeah, I'd say what I liked the most was not just the way that he did the lurker thing, as we talked about, but also when he was under pressure on the 3rd base, that when we saw the hatchery getting lower and lower and lower. I didn't even realize he had the 4th base done, and I'm like, oh my God, that's really bad that he, even though he has the economy lead, he doesn't have the actual base to mine it from. And you're like, no, he took the 4th base during all of that. Drones immediately go back to work. That's what gives him the economy to make the plays that we saw. And Erik was just really on top of that map. Really well played by him.
Absolutely. Well, that does mean that he is currently up 1-0 as we get ready to move into game number 2. Reminder that this is only the 2nd series for the Americas group. I know this is definitely going to be one of the longer days I think we've had compared to Challenger, even though it's the same format for that one group.
A lot of people in the chat were saying, spam this cleric to help out Erik. I like it.
Is there a cleric emote?
Yeah, well, they're going
plus
RNG emote.
Plus RNG.
Yeah. Not that there's really any RNG in ZvZ. It's pure raw skill. Aliens eating each other.
Is that skill? Aliens eating each other?
I don't know.
That's actually, I mean, I guess that is.
If maybe I could understand it if I was a Zerg, but I'm
evolutionarily,
human, so
that is actually just a skill you develop.
I'm not capable
down.
of comprehending the rites of passage of Zerg and essence consumption and all that. No.
I mean, I feel like every Zerg just has to go through the trials and tribulations of ZvZ, but it's gotten so much better now. You know what? Actually, I say that, but if you're not at the absolute tip-top level where you're still you see a lot more of the respect.
For me, ZvZ is weird because at the lower level, you get a lot of messy games, but at the tip-top level, like
Oh,
we go
it's
back to
beautiful.
BlizzCon, Cyril's ZvZs against like Dark. Some of the best matches. Not forget mirror matches. Some of the best singular series I've ever seen.
Absolutely. No, ZvZ at the top level, really awesome. When you started getting to the lower levels, it's like, oh, actually,
It turns
I
into
just
a
lost
bloodbath.
all of my links to that ban link.
That's where the knife fight meme comes from.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, top of the blue Zerg player, sitting up 1-0. He is Erik from Team Try Again. 22 years old.
He's a youngin'. Going up against our red Zerg player in the southeast, representing China. He is TooDming.
You know, there aren't many players that are like 24 years old these days.
Yeah. You know, StarCraft.
I feel like there's an age gap. There's the old veterans that are somewhere between 27 and 30. And then there's this age gap between 24 and 26. And then everyone else is like 18 to 22.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, though. You know, a lot of everyone was younger earlier, right? Because the game came out 7 years, 8 years ago, right? And that's where, goodness, it's almost 9 years. No. I mean, I'm getting old. No.
Are you though?
I don't know. Actually, what we
It's
got?
still like what, 21?
Well, depending on the day, how much I've shaved, I'm either 21 or I'm 51. So.
By the way, we do have the reversal of the first game. TooDming going for that pool first. This one's going to be a 12 pool, though, so this is a lot more committed. He doesn't have the gas guys.
Pool is not even done for Erik, so if he wants to save this hatch, probably going to have to see some drones come off the line. It doesn't look like
There it
he's...
is.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Is he going to be able to save it? Now, if only Cats were here, he would have the perfect... He would see all the numbers appear
exact
in front of his
HP.
eyes. Yeah, he'd be like, this is how many drones.
Ooh.
It's like, no. He pulled back. Can't pull
Okay.
back.
You don't actually want to be losing this. I think 3 is like the maximum you want to lose in these kind of situations.
Got to keep in mind, of course, though, those drones aren't mining while this happens.
And you can already see that there's droning out of this from TooDming.
Oh, gets another two of the drones. Ouchie wawa.
All right, I was told by production to press Control N.
There you go.
Well, the music is enabled. Just,
It's okay, Fear Dragon.
we're finding out from production what they actually
Okay, Fear Dragon. I love you.
enable.
Everything is okay. The
Okay.
lings are dancing around on the map. We've got TooDming trying to push a little bit. So here's the weird thing about this, right? Like, you get these fast hatch builds, but then the investment it takes to defend it kind of ends up equalizing a bit. Both players end up around 20 drones. Erik's only going up to 21 right now, but TooDming isn't building any more drones, so it turns into this weird balance. And like I said, I try to channel the inner spirit of Cats because only he could have such a good understanding of what is going on right now. Erik is pumping out a lot of drones now, though, so I guess we're kind of moving forward to that Roach phase. We didn't really have any Ling play last map either.
No, they both skipped Zergling speed, so we didn't really see any Ling Bane Wars. There is Zergling speed being researched this time, though, for Erik, and also getting up the third base. TooDming about to get enough gas for Zergling speed if he wants to invest into it. And there it is. He is going to go for that and the Evo chamber.
All right, so playing it a little bit safer, I'd say. Having that option for Zergling speed. Of course, it can also be used for aggression, but you always want to have some form of map control. Don't let your opponent just take a third base, a cheeky third with no pressure. Oof, the drone.
Nice scout, kind of confirming, okay, you're not doing anything sneaky like skipping Zergling speed and going up to a lair again, kind of like we both did last game. But not quite, I think he actually did scout out the third base with the overload, so that's also a pretty good reveal. I've always wondered, and maybe maybe Cats would answer this question for me. If you see that your opponent is not really going for a massive flood of links in this situation as TooDming, would you cancel Zergling speed when it's like 80 or 90% complete and just invest into armor upgrade or something instead?
I would, because my Zergling Baneley micro is terrible. So I would way much rather build literally anything other than those 2 units. But the amount of links he has pocketed,
This is a fake out.
16 more queued.
Well, I wanted to say it's a fake out. It's not a full fake out, right? It's a lot of links queued. He's going to get aggressive 100%. But he's still researching +1 missile attacks. I would think if this is a pure speedling attack, he would go for melee or something, but he does want to follow up.
Yeah. The +1 roach is always nice because if the attack fails, if you have to counter for whatever reason, the +1 roach 2 shots the Ling, which has a huge impact on the ability to deal with anything like that, especially if you use the wall off. It's one of those areas where ZvZ isn't a numbers game anymore because you can actually defend less. But great surround, shutting down this third base. Meanwhile, it does look like Erik has something attacking that hatch. Nothing too
4
much.
Lings. Yeah, not a whole lot. He might actually even... No, he's going to lose out in that fight. And of course, TooDming cannot really break the wall in, but the damage has already been done by killing off that third base and starting up his own. He's going to be able to get just a little bit further ahead, and he's staying up on those upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, I think the upgrades in ZvZ are just the most important. It's really nice that he has his third. He cannot start the third back up. Erik cannot until that base is done. Also, if he were to accidentally, after breaking his wall open, go outside, his natural hatch is very exposed too.
Oh, yeah.
So, with very little hit points remaining on it, TooDming, the world is his oyster.
Literally has control over the entire map right now.
And look at the follow-up.
If it works in the first game, let's try it again in the second game. Remember that TooDming, while he did manage to get a snipe off on that third base, he used all of his larvae on these early Zerglings, and then he followed it up with drones. Whereas Erik kind of had the drones earlier on, and then he started making roaches. So he has 18 roaches. There are nada roaches out right now for TooDming. Total of 0.
And I'm really interested to see how well this works because I feel like that Nidus change that they made has such a huge impact. Like the fact that you can kill it before it pops, like that's the counterplay.
His vision of this.
When it finishes, the units just come out so fast. Your reaction time, well, we see here from TooDming, he's not responding to it at all. What's he gonna do? Here we go. All the roaches are coming out at an insane rate. He's got the co-op Nidus Worm Fear Dragon.
Nate, I don't know how you survived this as TooDming.
He just got Omega Worm. All right.
Oh my god, if the roaches... Okay, well, the roaches are not going to be able to get to the choke man. I was thinking he could wall TooDming out of his own base.
Oh my god, the roaches are walling there. Is he going to drone drill? No, he's not that desperate. He might be dead, but
he may have needed to be that desperate. There's even a few Lings over here for Erik that can also help buffer and buy a little bit of time. Even though TooDming has a slight upgrade edge over his opponents, he is losing out a lot of roaches. The reinforcements were a bit faster there for TooDming, but finally they start unloading here from the
Erik pushing in with that Nidus and a Brazilian roaches. Absolutely stellar play here in his first broadcast WCS match, at least the first that I'm aware of. Doing a great job over here inside TooDming's natural, a player that we have seen so many times competing at the highest levels of the WCS. Just great play and good use of the tools available to him. I love seeing the Nidus. It's so good. I want to see it more. GG.
Absolutely fantastic. Did I catch you saying he made not a million, but a Brazilian roaches in that game?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, man. And I'm the one that gets flack for those puns. That's a great one. That was really, really well done. Not just by you, but also by Erik. 2-0.
So Erik will go on to play against Special in the winner's match, and
bit of a tough match.
That's a match where both players are gonna be much more familiar with each other, I think, as well. So that's
yeah, that's one of those moments where you're like, oh god, not again.
Yep. He no longer has the element of surprise, and I guess that means that M. Canning will play in our next series in the lower bracket against TooDming.
And I'm excited for that, and I'll tell you why. Because I talked a lot with M. Canning, and he said, you know what, Special. I don't know if you guys actually saw on M. Canning's Twitter, he has a little bit of a direct message conversation he had with Special, where Special just kind of DMs him and says, God, I told TY there was exactly one player I didn't want to have in my group, and it was M. Canning. M. Canning says, okay, look, there's no shame in losing to a better player and everything. Maybe M. Canning just felt like he needed to give Special a little bit of slack and only really prepared for his PVZs, which is actually what happened. He didn't really have a whole lot prepared for Special. Just said, I'm going to focus on the Zergs in this group.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean,
that's the way M. Canning rolls.
Yeah, generally speaking, can only ever use 0.01% of his power, including power dampening at the same time. So we'll see him break it out versus the Zerg. That's coming up next. M. Canning and TooDming.
God, what a handsome guy M. Canning is.
That smile. That's a smile that sells 1 million books.
That's a smile every mother could love.